So welcome to the second half of our look at Buss's 1989 research on sex differences in human mate preferences. So we're going to start from findings, and as you can see in the circles in front of us, we've got 6 different sections, and if you were going to do a good answer, it would be good if you included some findings from each section. It's not important to remember everything, but remember what you consider to be the really important things and think about providing enough material to make sense of the findings, okay? And remember that the findings are also going to be related to Buss's hypothesis about the evolutionary impact on sex preferences in terms of mate selection. Okay, so let's push on and see what kind of findings Buss came up with on what, remember, was a massive study. Okay, so one of the first things that he was interested in was how people valued good financial prospects. And what he found was that in 36 out of 37, 97% of samples, females valued good financial prospects more highly than males. The only one where it wasn't the case was Spain, and there was a difference there, but it wasn't significant. But the places that where earning capacity was seen as most important were in North and South America, Asia, and Africa. And the least important was found in some of the European samples. And you might wonder, why might that have been the case? Okay. As far as ambition and industriousness goes, again, 34 out of 37 samples, 92% this time, females valued ambition and industrious more highly than males. In 29 of the samples, the difference was significant. At the 0.5 level, 95% sure that it was not due to chance. And that's regarded as providing moderate support for this hypothesis. So in 3 samples, Colombia, Spain and South Africa, the difference was found in the opposite direction, though that was only significant in the Zulu sample. It was found of equal value in Nigeria, China and Colombia. But it's not a massive issue for some countries, West Germany, Britain and Finland, for example. The next area to look at was age difference, and in all samples, males preferred mates who were younger, and they looked for a gap of about 2.6 years on average, and the mean age for males marrying was 27.49 years, so therefore the ideal age of a female from a male's point of view was 24.83 years. Right, now that's closer to peak fertility than peak productive value. Okay, the biggest gap was found in polygynous countries where men can have more than one wife, and males preferred a gap up to 7.38 years. In all samples, females preferred mates who were older, and their preferred gap was a bit bigger. It was 3.42 years, and females tended to marry at 25.39 years of age, which meant that the ideal age of a male was 28.81. Good looks. In all 37 samples, males valued good looks more highly than females, and that was significant to the 0.05 level in 92% of the samples. And it was particularly important to males in Bulgaria, Palestinian sample in Israel, Nigerian and Zambian samples. Chastity was probably the least conclusive, or the least significant finding. There was a large variety. In 23 out of 37 samples, the males preferred chastity. In the other 14 samples, there was no significant difference. It was highly valued by males in China, Iran and Indonesia, but for Western countries and West European countries, it was regarded as irrelevant. So that's one to reflect on when we look at conclusions. Okay, now here's a thing. There were two kind of questions here. These are questionnaires, don't forget. So did the things that people wrote in their questionnaires about what they preferred, did they actually reflect what really happened? And do they make preferences actually reflect what people go on and do? And he checked 27 of the samples, and he found, for example, that the mean age difference between males and females was 2.99 years. The mean marriage age for males was 28.2, compared to a preference of 27.5 in the questionnaire. The mean marriage age for females was 25.3 years, compared to a preferred age of 25.4 years in the questionnaire. So that seems to suggest that the findings of the questionnaire match reality. And you might want to think, when you're evaluating his methodology, this sort of kind of double checking of the results of the questionnaire might increase its validity. Okay, so there were 5 conclusions that support evolutionary ideas, and you're going to need to know at least 3 of these for the exam. And at the bottom there I'll put some general conclusions which are also important for your own understanding of this subject, and can also be used quite effectively in the exam, right? So, first conclusion from the 37 samples that we've seen is that women do seem to seek males who can provide resources. Women value ambitious and industrious males as they are more likely to be able to provide resources. It seems that males value attractiveness and youth because they're looking for females with the ability to produce lots of offspring, but it seems they look for fertility rather than reproductive value. Having said that, they marry after peak female fertility, so maybe other non-evolutionary factors might be important. So in evolutionary times, maybe we would have just gone simply for a partner at their peak of fertility. Nowadays, perhaps we delay that a little bit and think about things like, is this person compatible with me? Is this person sufficiently mature to become my partner? Okay, but it still supports the underlying idea that males are looking for youth with a view to producing many offspring. Females, fourth conclusion, females preferred older males, which fits in with the prediction about resources simply because older females tend to have more resources than younger ones. Also, males were more interested in chastity than females, but the difference was very small and a bit inconsistent. And we could argue that maybe that's because chastity is not easy to spot. Okay, general conclusions though. Evolutionary predictions do seem to be supported, especially the male and female preferences about mates. Also, this is worth thinking about. It's not simply about female choosiness. Males also have particular things that they're looking for in a partner, and that's also got evolutionary significance. Finally, of course, it's not all about evolution, and things like culture do have an impact. So as we can see from the different chastity findings, and also the finding about how important material resources are, and that varies from one culture to another. Okay, looking at Buss's methodology, if we're going to evaluate it, you've got 5 paragraphs to write, and you need to write a paragraph on each. I'm going to have to speed up a little bit just to get all this done within my 15 minutes. So here we go. As far as the method goes, there are advantages of using a questionnaire. We can get a massive amount of information from a large number of people relatively quickly, compared to interviewing all of them anyway. They might be more likely to tell the truth about confidential issues. Think about what they might say in an interview. A disadvantage of using a questionnaire here, though, is that people who couldn't read had to have the questions read aloud to them, and that may have led to social desirability bias. Reliability. Participants were only asked about their preferences once. Maybe if they were asked 10 years later, they might express different views. But having said that, given the size of the sample, it may be very difficult to repeat the research. Okay, validity raises a couple of questions here. The validity would have been increased by Buss's efforts to make sure the questions were carefully translated and adapted to local customs. So that would certainly increase the likelihood of the participants telling the truth. On the other hand, social desirability bias in the Zulu one in particular may have decreased the likelihood of participants telling the truth. Okay. The rank ordering of characteristics might have caused problems. What if the participants ranked two characteristics equally? How could we deal with that? And what if they ranked highly other characteristics which weren't actually on the list? Sampling. Sampling is going to affect validity because if the sample isn't representative, then we can't generalize the results. Here are some issues with Buss's research. Mean ages of male and female participants were different. That might have affected findings. You think about how that might be the case. Different sampling strategies in different countries may also have affected the results. One was systematic, a couple were opportunity, and so forth. Rural and less well-educated people were not well represented in the sample. Most of the participants were from Western industrialized countries. You might want to be able to say why you think that's a problem. Ethical issues are another area. Just think, what might have happened in that Zulu village if the answers they gave were heard and spread around the village? How do you think that might affect their life? Okay, you need 4 pieces of alternative evidence. So here we go. Thinking about cross-cultural studies, Cunningham et al., they found close agreements about males rating female attractiveness across a whole range of different cultures: Asian, White American, Hispanic, and Black. Say why that supports Buss. Also, Singh found men across many cultures prefer a low waist to hip ratio. Large bottom, good fat reserves for pregnancy. Small waist shows they're not pregnant. This developed Buss on chastity. Why do you think that is? Lonely Hearts adverts. Wainforth and Dunbar looked at 900 ads looking for differences in the way men and women describe themselves and what they say they're looking for. Have a look at page 120 on that one. What they found: more men than women sought a youthful partner. More men than women sought a physically attractive mate. But more women than men describe themselves as physically attractive, and more men than women report their earning power when describing themselves. How does this support or develop Buss's findings, do you think? They did further research on gay ads and found that heterosexual women were much more interested in resources than gay women. Gay men were much less likely to report their financial status. How do you think that supports or develops Buss? Finally, there are alternative explanations. Maybe we've evolved to find baby faces attractive so that we look after them. So the male preference for young-looking women may be to do with them seeming vulnerable in need of care rather than being used being a sign of fertility. But Celerino, on the other hand, suggests that baby features are signs of high levels of estrogen. In other words, fertility. So do these findings contradict, support, or develop Buss? Okay, that's our Buss ready to depart. We've finished all the alternative explanations. Again, any questions or anything you may have, make sure that you bring them to one of your teachers before the exam. Hope you've enjoyed that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.